What's up, y'all? Hey, everybody. Well, it ain't Sunday, but happy Saturday. Hope y'all are having a good, blessed day. It's your boy Javier. Cheers. Now, I don't want to waste any time. I got my drink, which is orange. I got my outfit, which is orange. I got my head, my cap, which is orange. So, we on orange today. Cheers again. I hope you guys are having a good day. Um, Again, life happens. Oop, hold on, I forgot my notes. Got my phone, cause my apologies. Sorry. Okay, got my notes, cause I have some stuff I have to talk to you guys about today. Now, this episode is entitled "Your Size, Your Body, You're Obese." So on the last season, I talked about weight, very minimally. I did talk about our health, African American health, and I basically was giving an over generous consent, over not generous, over general consensus of the healthcare system within the African American community, of how accessible it is to us, and where we fall short on our healthcare within us getting to the doctor, and then once we're there actually at the doctor, once we actually finally make it there. um, what kind of care is given to us? What kind of patience, not being a patient and a doctor, the patience is given to us. um, so I want to talk about that today. Or not want to talk about that, I talked about that last season. This episode for this today, it was inspired by Queen Latifah. Now she sat down, and she's been, now her new fight is for, um, which, before I get started, I want to show you guys something. This this ring, I didn't have it on before I just went and grabbed it, because this ring is pretty cool. Um, it's one of these like rock rings. Have you ever been to a mall before, and then they show you the scientific, like, the lady last time performed, well, the guy did too this time, just to prove it to me again. You know those bracelets you put on your, or whatever, and then, like, he had me hold my arm out, and then he pushed it down to see how my balance was, and then he put the bracelet, or without the bracelet he did it, and then with the bracelet he did it, and it showed that my strength was built up. That's what this ring kind of does. So I usually keep it on. I thought it was just something me and my friend bought together at the mall, just for us to have. I still don't get out as much, because I try not to be COVID, but we hadn't seen each other in like 3 years, and we live in the same city. That's the sad part. I know what kind of friend are we, right? But I just want to show y'all that. But anywho, back to discussion, because there's a lot of stuff I have to cover, and I don't want to keep you guys here no more than 30 to 40 minutes as possible. So, like I said, Queen Latifah was on the. She's been in this. Her new fight is about being obese, and what obese means in America, and the stigma around it. And I want to continue that conversation, because that's the most important thing, is for us to have conversations that spark more conversations, that spark other conversations, and soon everybody is talking about it, which then can normalize whatever the issues are around the stigma, and get it radicalized, and getting it normalized. So I want to continue that conversation in hindsight of Queen Latifah. Although this was supposed to happen a couple weeks ago, but that's okay. Um, I felt like the reason why I was putting, initially this was going to be the season premiere, but then it turned out to be, I was like, let me do a part 3 season premiere. So I'll do part 1, part 2, part 3. This is part 2, and part 3 will air tomorrow, which is the premiere. So the reason correction, part 4. There's part 4 to this. So part 2 today, part 2 tomorrow, and then Monday will be part 4. We already have part 1. Today's part 2. Part 3 is tomorrow, and then part 4 is on Monday. And then after that, we'll just continue with just Sundays. But the reason I wanted to delay this was because I need to get some of the evidence, and I felt like one of the things you guys have noticed about me is that I talk about things, and I don't really use facts or statistics or algorithms or data. And the reason why I don't do that is because I feel like a lot of times when you look at daytime talk shows and nighttime talk shows and late night talk shows and all of these shows out here, from scripted to reality to talk shows to podcasts, they all present you guys with the same things of statistics and facts and give their arguments based off of agreeing to whether or not they agree with that article or not, instead of just speaking from their heart. So a lot of times that's the reason why I don't really focus on the statistics for the Analytical Eye show, because my show is not going to be, I don't want it to be, and nothing's wrong with going based off of facts and statistics and data, or some people say data, which I don't get the correlation between the two, but okay. I mean, I know that they're the same word, but pronunciation, but you know, sorry, I just went off on something else on that. But anywho, I don't want to get so heavily caught up in statistics that could be potentially biased, instead of just speaking, like I said, from my heart. Now, there are times that I've said a lot of things on this show, from last season to currently now, that was based off of what somebody may have said, but I didn't quote them based on and present you guys with what the article is and where you found it, because obviously it was a general opinion that everybody in the world already knows, based off of this side's view, my side, my view, and what do am I in agreement with either side or one or the other, or what's my position and my place within the topic that I'm talking about for that episode. So with that being said, this time around I wanted to present you with statistics, because this one, I feel, because this is generally, this episode is for African Americans, but it's specifically for African Americans who are female, and or females that happen to be African American. Let me say that. And because this was sparked by a voluptuous, big-boned, beautiful woman like Queen Latifah, which I don't consider to be obese. And why I feel like that's the stigma around it is a disease, and it should be treated as such with respect, just like if it was an addiction or any other diseases out there that are sexual transmitted, or cancers or anything like that. It should be treated as just as serious as if it's something else. And I am going to present you guys with some facts that I did get from Jada Pickett's talk show on Facebook Watch called Red Table Talk, where Queen Latifah did appear on that show, but also some of the other articles and some of the things that I found, or things that I had started thinking about as before I came on to do this episode, before I started filming this episode, to talk to you guys. And my line of work as being a TSA agent, where I noticed and started to kind of question, and not necessarily the policies and procedures or things the way TSA, the government, has done them, but just noticing some things that could be a possible factor that is also embedded in this discussion, without it being highlighted or directly sought out to be what it is. So, and I'll explain that later on. So let's cover what Queen Latifah's fighting the battle of the stigma around obese, because there are now I'm gonna throw some stuff at you. Obese comes from the term BMI, which is body mass index, which is based on weight and height that calculates your body fat. So like you can have 10% body fat, 30% body fat, 100% body fat, which means you're at that point of obese, or whatever the case may be. And that's from the National Institutes of Health. Now there are 4 different types of body fat. There are body types, not body fat. There's underweight, there's healthy weight, overweight, and obese. When you're underweight, your BMI is 18.4. When you're healthy weight, you're 18.5 between 24.9. When you're overweight, you're 25 through 29.9, and when you're obese, you're at a 30 or greater than or equal to 30. Now, I don't know what the numbers specifically mean as far as if it means percentages wise as your 18% body fat or not. I'm not sure. I have to do more research on that, which I can look up for you guys while I'm talking about this. But I just want to give you guys specifically those numbers as well. Now, in my book, let me break it down for you for the actual layman terms of what we call it. When you're underweight, which means you're scrawny or you're anorexic. When you're healthy weight, which means you're skinny, you're athletic or toned. And when you're heavyweight, when you're overweight, you're thick or heavy set. And then when you're obese, you're just straight up fat. Now, I feel, and I'm not saying that women you're fat, I'm just saying these are the layman's terms. I'm just breaking it down for you from underweight, healthy weight, whatever, to what we as humans just call it for what it is. Now, they are taking the word back from being fat to fat, which is P-H-A-T, pretty hot and thick. Some people say pretty hot and tempted or temptum or whatever, but I've never heard of that. I've always heard pretty hot and thick, but to each his own. But let me look up what I'm talking about. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to continue to talk to you guys. I feel that the stigma around obesity is very, very taken lightly. We do have the shows on TLC, My 1,000-Pound Life or My 700-Pound Journey or whatever it is on TLC. There's other shows out there that I can't think of at the moment that talk about obesity. And one of the problems I have with it in the medical field is that it's not taken as seriously as it should. We promote, we should eat healthy, we should eat this, we should eat that. But generally, that's not based off of how society views each other. You know what I'm saying? We eat whatever we want. And whatever is the cheapest foods is the unhealthy food. The healthy food is the expensive food. And here in America, we have that problem where our needs are more expensive than our wants. Which another episode will tie into on part 4, which connects with this episode as to why our needs are more costly than our wants. And that will be part 4 on Monday. So we'll talk about that. I feel that within our community, as far as African Americans, there's a history there. There's a history where people stigmatize us with being unhealthy. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, give me 1 second. What are the numbers for BMI 18.9? And actually, BMI goes from 30 all the way up to 39.9, to be exact. But the question is, what does okay. So, a BMI between 18.5. Gotcha. Okay. So, it looks like they're just taking your weight divided by your height, and then that's where you fall in the category of the BMI, from my understanding of how they calculate the numbers. But it's not that important to know. It's just something I just thought about top of my head just before I got to the show. But anywho, okay, let me get back into the discussion what I want to talk about. Okay, because I mean we're talking about it, but let me get back in. Okay, so let me first off by saying this because I'm just gonna read some of my notes. One of the things I started thinking is that there's people that are big boned or born to be naturally big, and some of it can be by genetics or hormones or just naturally as God intended them to be. Now, I do believe that there are people out there that, for example, Queen Latifah, when she was born like from what I looked at, she was bigger than the average Joe, and that's all out of love, and I feel like that was just, I don't even consider Queen fat or obese or overweight or anything, because she's a tall woman. Like the girl is like freaking what, 5'11" or something. She's pretty tall, and I felt like I don't consider her fat at all or obese, because I just feel like, oh, she's just a big boned woman, and ain't nothing wrong with that. She's a thick madame. Ain't nothing wrong with what Queen was going on with her body. She don't look overweight to me. So when so that never crossed my mind. I didn't even question it. I never even questioned Joe Scott being obese or anything like that. I never even considered Monique to be obese, because I thought bigger girls were sexy. They're voluptuous. They're bigger. They're more out there, and that's what attracted me to Queen Latifah, Monique, and Joe Scott, because they were black women. Not necessarily light-skinned, but dark black women that own their body, that love their body. Excuse me. And this is what we'll be talking about on tomorrow's show, is colorism in this aspect. But I don't want you guys to take it that I don't like light-skinned girls, or find them not attractive or anything, or dark-skinned girls not attractive. I'm just stating that I noticed within our community there was a lot of lack of confidence in darker skinned girls that just so happened to be more heavy set. You know what I'm saying? And even though Queen Latifah's on the lighter shade of the spectrum than Joe Scott and Monique, I still found, just to look at them and be like, they're black women that are voluptuous, and they're big, and they're bold, and they're brazen. And for Queen Latifah to what? She's overweight? She's obese? Nah, not Queen. No. So I feel, before I move into some of the facts, I feel the BMI is very prejudiced and stereotypical. I say this because a lot of African Americans, I want to know who came up with the BMI. Like, who first started it? Because I don't think it was the National Institutes of Health. Maybe not. But I'm kind of curious as to who created the BMI and how they came to do with height and weight. You know what I'm saying? Because I get that's more of a general consensus, but I feel like obesity is tied more as not taken seriously because it's more African Americans, at least in America, African Americans, because we eat a lot more unhealthy foods, or soul food that is enriched in butter and fat and grease, which I want to talk about, because that's the reason why I don't like the word obesity or BMI or anything like that, and why I think it's stigmatized, if that's a word, and why we need to talk about it, because it's tailored towards more the African American community. Because if you look at the history of African Americans, and I explained this on my last season on one of my episodes, I talked about, even in the health episode, I talked about this. In the beginning of time, when you had a slave master and you had the slaves would slaughter the animals, cook, and prepare the food for their masters and the family. But then they get the scraps. So guess what the scraps were? Chitlins, pig's feet, neck bones, a fat back, all that shit that clogs up your arteries, and enriched in the stuff we cook today as what we call soul food. And it kills me when I go to the doctor and they say you need to eat more healthy, or not necessarily me, but they just make sure that you're eating healthy, right? And it's like, when you go to the store, even now in 2022, when you go to the store, even with the prices of inflation, which on the next episode of next Sunday, we will be talking about inflation. That's the next thing we're going to go into. So if you kind of notice, I'm starting to try to get in the mode of trying to get things like in a, not necessarily a soap opera, but like, where you kind of stuff is making sense of tailoring it to one through the other, kind of like intertwining it all. Which, hold on, hold on, I gotta make a note to myself because I will forget. Okay, so back to what I was saying. If you look at the prices of what's healthy and what's not healthy, the cheapest things are the unhealthy foods. And then the expensive vegetables and fruits and the shit doctors want us to eat, it's pricey. Now with the inflection of prices, everything's damn near expensive at this point. Walmart's not even save money, live better anymore. They turn into Whole Foods and damn near Sprouts at this point. And damn near EBT, the amount of payment that they give is not enough anymore. For a lot of people in the United States. So like I said, what kills me is when you go to the doctor and they say eat healthy, eat this, eat this, eat this. Like, are you going to buy that for me? And it kills me because that they're looking down on us when they say those things, instead of saying maybe it's not actually they always jump the gun, or people always are jumping the gun in society about, oh, you're fat because you eat. Sometimes it's not because they eat. Women gain weight from birth control, y'all. My sister gained like 100 pounds from birth control. Now, what aided in that was she got the hungry demon and caused her to eat. She was eating a lot more McDonald's, but she gained half of that weight from at least the birth control. Women gain weight from pregnancy, and it's hard. It's easy to put on pounds, but harder to take them off. Even when you're trying your hardest to exercise, eat right, drink a lot of water, do what you gotta do, it's still not enough. Women also gain lots and lots of pounds from all the stress men and other women put them through. Let's be real about it. So it's not just always about what's going in somebody's mouth. It also could be how their body operates, their metabolism, that they eat little but their body doesn't burn it as fast. It could be like my mama always told me it was in Europe. Me and my boo also talked about this. That in Europe they eat very, very slow. Here we eat fast food, but they don't really have fast foods in Europe. Everybody eats over there. They take hours to eat. America, we're always on the run, so we always down our mouths. So I understood, my mom always told me, was that it's actually even scientifically proven. When you chew more and then swallow your food, it's easier for the body to break it down. So if you don't have a high metabolism, your body's going to take longer to burn down the food and and stuff that you're consuming, which has probably a lot of calories in it, and you're not burning off those calories because your body is not able to burn off the food and stuff just as fast. Because my mom told me that her doctor told her that you should at least be chewing, every time you take a bite out of food, you should be chewing at least 30 times. No less than 30 times per bite. When you have a 30-minute lunch like I do working at TSA, down here in Florida, they require 30-minute lunches, and that's it. You don't got time for 30 bites. You know how fast you have to chew them, like, the whole time. And then you're going to bite. Just so we don't have time for that. Because America's always in the rush. And that's our problem. So that's that could be another reason why women could be more bigger than thou. Not heavy set or obese, just bigger than thou, which is okay in my book. If you can rock your bigness, flaunt it. Flaunt all the rolls, love handles like Lizzo does. Look, do what you gotta do, And so, like I said, I just can't stand when doctors and people make the assumptions you gotta eat more healthier. Why do you think that could be the only thing why I've gained weight? Right? Because a woman's going through a divorce, or she's stressed out, or she was so happy that she went out for vacation and ate right, did what she did, came back, wanted to start working out more, getting back into work, and it's just more harder to take off the pounds than it is putting them on. So that's another factor you got to look at. And like I said, historically, we got the scraps. So this is all we know. So you can't tell us to not just desert our culture and the things that we have turned from bad to good, because everything that's been handed to black people, even to this day. And I want to say this because this is on my mind. For the Africans that have died, that was crossing the border, was it in Sicilia? Let me get the right border. It was across, and there needs to be more coverage about this. But, it was Morocco. Yeah, it was Spain. Did I say Spain? Or no, I said Sicily or something. So the Africans that crossed the Morocco-Spain desert border, the Melilla border, that were killed by all of those troops. I'm praying for their families and their loved ones. But like I said, historically, everything that's been handed to blacks and Africans has not been out of love. As you can see, we're still the number one hated race in the world. Number one targeted race, hatred in the world. Everything that has been given to us by the Italians, by the Spanish, by the whites, by the British, by our own kind, some of our own kind that are Uncle Toms, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Russians. We're treated like second-class citizens to everybody else. So we've been handed the scraps, and we have taken those scraps and have turned it into pure gold, and they can't stand that. So then I feel like they come up with these names like BMI and stuff like that are considered to, now you're unhealthy. Because in Africa, if a woman's bigger, that's the more bigger a woman is, the more presumed she's as wealthy she is to be. And it's embraced to be big. And I don't correctly agree with the BMI because statistically, not statistically, I feel like there are bigger women, not just bigger women, bigger people out there that are more healthier than a scrawny, anorexic, no eating, no meat, no vegan, no ham, no lettuce, no cheese, no Kool-Aid, no sugar type person that just drinks water and eats the air. Literally. And I'm meaning that with exaggeration. I'm serious though. I do believe there are women out there that are bigger women out there that are way more healthy than the scrawny women. And to me, a bigger woman is more appealing. Just saying. So I do feel that is a stigma that was attached and created. The BMI and how you're either at weight or overweight and stuff like that, based off of the African American community. I honestly believe that. I feel like that is one of the maybe contributing factors that is unknowingly stated and that people don't want to talk about. I get that they categorized it this way because, like my mom always told me, Javier, once you stop growing up, the only other way is to go out. Once you stop going up in height, you're going to go like this. There's only so much you can do this, and then you got to go like this. So I see that how they get their BMI is based off of height and weight, because once you've been when you're 6 feet tall and then you gain 100 pounds, your body can, the weight will morph into your body because you're 6 feet. But once you're 4 feet and you gain 100 pounds and you're already at 100, you can't go up. Your body's not gonna get any taller. You're just gonna go out, and it's gonna form to your body, but you're just gonna go out. And that person may go out, but just not as much. You know what I'm saying? So I get that how they get their calculations, but I'm talking about the creation of it all, which is this side of the fence of, hey, I think they created this based off of race. Somebody did this, even though they're not actively saying it. But I feel like in their mind, there had to be some consideration in that this was created because of this. And not dealt, and not that it was created just because of the African American community, but I'm saying that how it's dealt with too, but it's because it's not taken seriously. Because African Americans eat unhealthy, we eat a lot. There's a lot of shit we eat that is healthy. To me, I think collard greens is healthy, if you ask me. I mean, it's a plant. You grow it, you rinse it off, you boil it, you season it, you do everything you gotta do to it. So that's one thing. And so I just feel that part, an aspect of us, is tailored to the BMI and how it is now, kind of like a little, stereotypical and prejudice, and with the history of everything, like I said, it just irritates me that doctors say eat more right, eat more this, eat more that, but your ancestors are the reason why we eat this shit in the first place. But even then, before that, Africans and African Americans, we're just naturally bigger. Naturally, we got bigger noses, bigger lips, bigger foreheads, bigger heads, bigger hair, bigger hands, bigger penises, bigger breasts, bigger ass, bigger bellies, bigger everything. I did hear in so many words though, which kind of tailors to maybe why it's not talked about, and this is the religious aspect of things, because somehow it all relates back to God. Somebody told me one point in time in my life that, in the Bible it states in so many words, I haven't looked this up, I haven't read it, I should find it now that I think about it, but somebody told me that being obese is actually a sin. Because God didn't create us to be big, because that means we're unhealthy. And that's one of the reasons why in the Bible it says eating pig, and just not, you should only be eating cattle and stuff like that God has created. Don't eat the pig, because the pig represents and symbolizes unhealthy and overweight and big and nasty, because the pig is a wild animal. A pig rolls around in its own shit, eats the mud, rolls around in that. It's a filthy animal. And so this is what I said. This is what I wrote in my notes. I said, I did hear in so many words that in the Bible it talks about obesity being a sin, which can relate to the kind of people, which can relate to the kind of people, or in the Bible stating that you shouldn't be. Also in the Bible is stating that you shouldn't eat pig because of how the pig operates as being a filthy animal and only should be eating cattle and so forth and so on. And which is kind of what I just said. But a pig being a filtered animal is that it's just the animal that doesn't care. So when you eat the chitlins, you eat the ham hocks, you eat the fat back, you eat the ham, you eat the bacon, you eat the, all that, it's unhealthy. Every part of the pig is unhealthy. And I'm sorry, but as black people, when it comes to animal, we eat the rooter to the tutor. Rooter to the tutor. We eat anything, everything. Because that's what was given to us. That's all we know. And you can't expect us to change overnight. Now, I know being African American and African, we, been in the United States for over, 200 years. So at some point we could have started to morph. But then again, not really, because if you look at the economical state and the financial state of African Americans, look where we at, even still to this day. We're suppressed. So that's why I'm saying the BMI and all that, that's prejudice. All of the facts and stuff that I'm about to give you kind of tailor into it being negatively created, or if created, but negatively affecting the African American community, where it's not taken as serious. Now I'm going to give you some facts, and we're going to talk about them. According to some articles, weight prejudice is the last accepted social bias, which means that everything else that's prejudice, that's talked about, is not okay. You can't make fun of nobody. But being overweight is okay to talk about them, make fun of them, bully them. It's acceptable to do so, because the 1% thinks it's okay. You can still be fired for being fat, which I find very rambunctious, because and out of this world. How can you be fired for your appearance? That at that point would be discrimination, if it's because then at that point you're looked at as you're not good looking for the company. when you don't need to be focusing on my looks. You need to be focusing on my work. And if you focus on anything else but my work, then you got a problem with yourself that you need to fix. For every 6 pounds an average American woman gains, her hourly rate drops by 2%. That's crazy. So that means if she were to get promoted, say for example, Tom, Dick, and Harry is getting paid $100,000, 2% less than $100,000. Let's calculate that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm good at math, but I don't want to do that right now in my head. That means you get paid $2,000 less. So that means you're getting paid $98,000. And that's a lot of money. $2,000 is nothing to sneeze at. Sorry, boo. Another fact. People who are overweight are hired less, promoted less, and paid less. Ties into the last one. According to an expert, kids as young as age of 3 are stating to believe that people that are stereotyped to be overweight and obese are lazy, weak-willed, unsuccessful, intelligent, lack of self-discipline, have poor willpower, and are non-compliant with weight loss treatment. Who does that sound like? That all is tailored to African Americans because, like I said, ding, 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 they call us intelligent. They tell us we have lack of willpower. They say we're weak-willed. We're unsuccessful because a lot of us are on welfare and WIC and food stamps and all this other government assistance. We ain't willing to work. We got no damn freaking worth ethic, all that stuff like that. And all of these same, like I said, all of these same stereotypes that are around obesity is around black people. So who are we going to be talking about? Black women, you know? Hold on, let me read the way that didn't make sense. Yeah, that's what I meant. So all these stereotypes are mentioned around African American people. So when you talk about BMI and all this stuff like that, and being overweight and obese, and not normalizing that this could be a disease, 1, 2, maybe it's really that they're not unhealthy. Because to me, I consider when you're obese, you're 1,000 pounds. You're 700 pounds. That's obesity to me. That's overweight. That's unhealthy. And that is a disease. And that should be taken seriously. But if you like 400 pounds or 300 pounds, honestly, I don't consider that unhealthy. Because like I said, there are women, even men out there, black people that are healthier than a scrawny. There's probably somebody out there that's way healthier than me. Not just by what I consume in my mouth and how I exercise or whatever, but just based off of my health alone. They could be more healthier than me. I honestly believe that. You know? And one thing I have to ask is what are the ideas of beauty? When we think of beauty, if I were to look up on Google, because Google is one of those companies that is stereotypically racial. If you look up hairstyles, they're gonna pull up white people. So you have to put in ghetto hairstyles or black hairstyles to get black people. And even then you sometimes don't get that because there'll still be a white person in the picture. When you look up beauty, it's going to look up all the white companies. They're not going to have black companies shown in there. That's why with my company, I want to create a search engine like that's opposite from Google, that's only tailored for black people. So when you search up businesses, it's only going to pull up black businesses. When you search up hairstyles, you're not going to have to put in black hairstyles. It's going to show you everything black hairstyles. When you look up restaurants, it's going to show you black restaurants. When you look up products, it's going to show you only black beauty products because that's what the opposite of what Google shows. That's one thing that a lot of people talk about that I've noticed in school that I've talked about sometimes that are not necessarily at the surface or at the forefront of stuff. And I'm not saying that Google is racist, but they're showing us that they are racist because of the things like this. And a lot of other companies are too, because like I said, with Juneteenth, when I was talking about that on the premiere show for the celebration of Juneteenth, Apple didn't start celebrating, Google didn't start celebrating, Target, all the government, none of these people started celebrating it and celebrating Juneteenth until it was actually important to think about, oh, let's put this up there so we can show we're for them and for black power and black businesses and all these commercials like Dove and Walmart and Target and Nike and all these people that are trying to get behind the black movement and stuff like that. Child, bye. I don't got time for that. I just see it as a forefront for y'all to try to act like y'all with us when just for convenience. You know, you're not with us here every day. Like when I was talking about that black commercial. If you haven't seen that for the Juneteenth episode, for the pre-premiere, go back and watch it. You see what I'm talking about. It's to find clothes that are bigger. It's hard to find clothes that fit bigger people or fabrics that make them comfortable, because what's good for the goose is not necessarily good for the gander. Now the saying goes, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, but in this I'm turning around and saying what's good for the goose is good for the gander, which means what's good for a skinny chick is not going to be good for a big chick. Fabrics that are not going to probably be aesthetically appealing or comfortable on a big chick as it is on a scrawny chick. You know what I'm saying? And that tailors into when I was watching a clip on YouTube from the daytime talk show The Real that was recently that's no longer in showing, but it was an episode from years ago. They had posted on one of their episodes kind of like a fashion show of wardrobe styles that big girls can wear that are the same as skinny girls. They had this big girl on there with the same shirt, same skirt, same heels. The only thing they added to the big girl was a black shirt underneath her and then some leggings or tights for a more slimmer look. Why does a woman have to a big girl have to put on extra clothing or material that will slenderize or slim down her body or her thickness for people? Another question I also have to ask is, this ties into the ideas of beauty. Why, when it comes to, for example, lingerie, why does a big girl, which I have to commend and honor and praise Rihanna for her Fenty Savage line when it came to the line of lingerie, she had all types of girls, and they were showing their bellies, they were showing everything, just like Lizzo does. But why, when it comes to certain companies, when it comes to lingerie, if they put out something for a big girl line, why is it that they have, for example, for a skinny girl, they'll have their stomach showing, or it'll be like a two-piece, but for a big girl, they only create a one-piece, and it's covering up their belly, covering up their main parts of their body, with a small slit on the side for their legs and maybe a little cleavage showing? Why can't the big girls get the same thing that the skinny girls are wearing, just in a more big girl fashion? And why don't you get some big girl consultants or scientists or bodies or test dummies, not that they're dummies, but people that will come in and you actually create something for their size. Be like, hey girl, what's your size? I'm a size 40 up, I'm just making up numbers, 40, 20, 40. I know that's random. I don't really know how the women's size work. I'm not a woman. I'm just stating something out there. Then they design that lingerie, have the girl try it on, and see go in the mirror. What do you like about it? What you don't like about it? And what, as the person that's making it, what do I like about it? What I don't like about it? Alter it, critique it, send it back out, get it revamped. Go a couple weeks later, bring the girl back in, try it on. She likes it. That's what we're gonna be putting out. That right there. Why don't y'all do that instead of always covering up? Why do a big girl have to come up her belly? Maybe she wants her belly out. And sometimes a big girl or one that you consider obese or overweight doesn't have a muffin top or a belly that's hanging. It's just not flat. It's got a little meat there, but ain't nothing wrong with that. Cows, bears, cheetahs, dogs, all of them got bellies. Why can't bellies out? Why is it not okay for a human to have the belly out? You know what I'm saying? And according to the International Journal of Fashion, Design, Technology, and Education, an average size in America is a size 16. So why isn't a lot more of these companies, H&M, Walmart, Gucci, Prada, and Dolce & Gabbana, and besides all those big old hefty name brands that I don't care nothing for, or Versace, why don't they have non-name brand companies that are out there that are regular, like Nike and Adidas, and other companies that are not big, not even just big, but why don't they, in stores, department stores, warehouse stores, have stuff that are more for big girls? Because me working at Ross, I noticed that there's all of this stuff for junior sizes. There's all this stuff for women, but when it comes to the plus size, they have two aisles. One, because when you walk into Ross, you have one, you have shirts that go on one side and shirts on the other side. There's literally two racks, which is considered, I'm gonna say one aisle, like two racks like this. Shirts here, so two. And that's for plug size. And then you have the same thing for their pants, and that's it. You don't have 8 aisles worth of pants and 8 aisles worth of shirts like you do for the regular women or the regular girls and scrawny girls. So why is it not like that? It's not celebrated as much, and we barely get a lot of big stuff in, and that stuff goes fast when we get it. Because you know what? There's a tapped in market that the consumers are missing out on. Just like I had stated for Juneteenth, that America, and even on last season, how the Hollywood is missing out on, at least, which was stated by Ava. What's her last name? Ava DuVernay. Is it Ava DuVernay? Ava DuVernay. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. She stated that Hollywood is missing out on black films and products and movies and TV shows and stuff like that of upwards of $20 to $30 billion a year. The same thing goes with big women. And who are the big women in the world? Black women. You're missing out on that market. Instead of, we're not going to create nothing for you because you don't deserve it. You have to take two type sizes and sew them together, or why does it got to be all that? There's a missing tapped in market, especially if the average size of an American girl, or average size in America for a girl is a size 16 and upwards. Another fact: 1 in 2 black women die from heart disease, according to American Heart Association, and 1 in 4 women are obese. And that's black women. 1 in 4 black women are obese. So that means, not black. That's just in general. 1 in 4 women are obese, based off of the studies of BMI and whatnot. But I'm going to say that I believe, because I swore there was another statistic I saw, that 2 in 5 black women are obese, considerably, by statistics. Which, all of these facts, I feel, are tailored negatively against an African American person or African American woman, because we don't talk about it. Like I said, everybody considers if you're big, you eat a lot. That's not all that considers. Sometimes, like I said, it's pregnancy, birth control. It's a genetic that your hormones or hormonal. Your body just produces a lot more, stuff that just where you gain weight, or you don't have a high metabolism, or you're stressed out a lot, or you're unhappy, whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? Another thing that I want to talk about before I end this episode, is because, like I said, I want to normalize this conversation, because I stand up for my big girls. And even like Monique said, a lot of people consider Monique to be skinny now. But based off of the BMI, Monique lost a lot of weight. Based off of BMI, they still consider her to be a fat black woman, an obese woman, or at least a heavy-set woman. Because Monique is not tall at all. She's at least my height, if not a little taller than me. But she still weighs like what you said, she teeter and totters between the 185 and the 210 scale. That's still obese. Having love handles and jiggly parts on your arm and love handles on your sides, that still means you're considered heavy set. Or as Monique said, like they say, a fat black woman. I don't get that, And so that's why I said I want to know the mindset of the man or the woman or both who came up with the idea for BMI, and how this is going to dictate whether or not you're overweight or not. And why does that specifically has to be the case? Because like I said, there's people out there that are bigger than me, that are bigger than 200 pounds. And I bet you darn good skippity, if they went and got blood tests done, if they went and got a physical done on them, and they were to walk on, like, doctor would do a full examination of their body, head to toe, inside and out, compared to me, there's probably at least one person out there that is more healthier than me. I bet you damn tea that. Their sugar level is way better than mine. Their salt intake is definitely way better than mine. You know, their kidney level probably is way better than mine. All that. Come on now. Just because you're skinny doesn't mean you're necessarily healthy. It doesn't mean you always look good either. Sometimes some of y'all need a burger too. One thing I want to talk about, which I think I already covered. Yeah, I covered that. Yep, I covered that. The last thing I want to talk about. Now, everybody, I guess, some people don't know. Yeah, no, I'm rocking orange. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm rocking orange all day today. I'm rocking orange too for the next episode, so that's okay. One thing I want to talk about is, so obviously, I think I may have mentioned this, maybe I did, maybe not. I'm a TSA. I work for TSA, which everybody knows is Transportation Security Administration. So I'm a federal officer. Everybody knows that body scanner, right? Everybody knows that body scanner that we go through that was created back in, 2007, and implemented and went into effect in 2008, 9, or whatever like that. I'm not really too sure of all the details because I didn't start flying again until I was, like, the first trip that I took at that point was in 2016. But I can't remember. Did I go through the body scanner at that point? I think I did. I do not remember if I did or not. But anywho, that body scanner was implemented to detect abnormalities on the human body. And a lot of times when black people come through, they're bigger. Obviously, black people, like I said, we're bigger. We're more heavy set. The men are more endowed below the belt. Just saying. Or the women are more endowed up on the breast or the buttock area, or all that in between. And a lot of times I get a lot of pushback from black people. Well, why, Lauren? Why I gotta get touched and pat on? And I started thinking, that is a good question. I usually just say, sir, I'm doing my job. It's just saying, sometimes it could be because you were sweating. Sometimes because you have paper in your pockets. Black people, and y'all don't follow directions. We tell you to take shit out your pockets. And we're like, you got something in your pockets? No. We go to pat you down. What's this in your pockets? It's just paper. That's something in your pockets. Take it out, bruh. The machine can detect that. Those machines detect anything and everything. Sweat, abnormal air, anything. So I started thinking. I was like, okay, well, you're right. Why are you always getting pat down? So then one guy, he came through, and he said, he had no problem. He said, hey, yo, bro. He alarmed in his growing area. So he had to do a pat down. And this is like earlier this year. He's like, yeah, I know. I'm used to this. This is like when I first started, like 2 week. We had like a day in the life at TSA where we go and like on the checkpoint and look at how they do the job before we start our phase 1 process. And so the guy was like, I'm used to this. I'm well endowed. He was up front. He said, I'm well endowed below the belt. And I already know that's the reason why the machine detects it. And I started thinking, and I didn't connect it then, but now I'm connecting it like months later, a couple of weeks ago, even before I came to start talking about this episode today, and even before I watched Queen Latifah's thing with the Red Talk and her fight to normalize obesity and the stigma around it, I started thinking, I was like, that doesn't make sense, because like I said, people were asking, why do I need to get pat down? Why do I need to get pat down? And there were a lot of black people. And sometimes it's because it's stuff in their pockets, and if you have a lot of stuff in your pockets and it's near your groin or in the area, it's just going to alarm up everything, including your groin area, so we have to do a whole entire pat down front to back of your groin area. But then I started noticing that if they don't have anything in their pockets, or if they don't have on a heavy set metal belt, or if they don't have the pants that have all those, those designs on it with the diamonds and fake shit on it that will then cause it to alarm, why do they get a pat down? And then I started noticing what officers will do is, because when, say for example, a big woman comes through, and we have this happen, where one time I had a beautiful black woman come through. She was a heavy set. and she came through. And I said, feet on the yellow, ma'am, hands above your head. Step out. She alarmed in the growing area. So obviously the officer did the growing alarm pat down. Then the next passengers, there was like few passengers go by. There's another heavy-set woman that comes in. Beautiful, beautiful black woman. Step in. The female officer said, ma'am, can you spread, usually we tell you put your feet on the yellow. But she said, can you, I probably shouldn't tattletale like this. But I noticed a lot of officers do this, but it makes sense that they do this because I'm going to tell you this reason why. She said, ma'am, can you spread your legs a little further apart? Because remember, when you're skinny, those feet are there based off of, the stance you suppose. But for a bigger woman that has bigger thighs, because remember, when a scrawny person or a scrawny woman or a skinny woman or athletic woman, just, regular built woman that's not heavy set or voluptuous comes through the body scanner, she puts her feet on there. There's an air gap between her legs. You can front to back, so the body scanner can see when it scans it. It can see if there's anything in between her legs or not. It can tell and to detect that. But if a big woman comes through, puts her feet on there, her thighs could be touching each other, rubbing together, knock knees, whatever may have you. Her belly could be there. Her butt is really big and is voluptuous too, and is hanging, so it's not able to get full coverage of the legs. So then it alarms in a growing area. So then now you have to pat it down because the machine is saying, hey, there's this stuff here in the growing area that is not, we don't know what's going on. You need to check this out as the officer. And so I started thinking, But this time around, she had her spread her legs a little wider than the yellow. Hands up. Guess what? She didn't alarm in the growing area. She didn't really alarm on her legs at all. She just alarmed on her shoulder. So I started thinking, maybe what happens is, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, which I may or may not have heard this from a supervisor, is that the machine, when they created this machine, and I started looking at stuff on YouTube about the body scanner just to confirm whether or not my suspicion was right, they took test dummies or passengers that were female and of all different body sizes and scanned them and submitted these good scans, meaning that you're not concealing any prohibited items that you're not supposed to take through the checkpoint that's on the outside of your body through. So these ones are okay scans. And they didn't get big people. They only got up to a certain size in a woman. So when you have a bigger woman coming through, the machine is not going to know, like, hey, the machine's going to scan and be like, hey, this doesn't match anything in our data or any of our body scans that are good. So, hey, you need to check out what's going on between, in the growing area, because we don't know what this is. So you as the officer have to clear this. This tailors back into why BMI, and I'm not calling the government out for being racist or anything, but or discriminatory against big people. But if they had put big people scans in their database for the body scanner to match it, so when a passenger comes through and they get scanned, the machine, my thought process is saying, a person comes through, they get a scan, step out, the machine at that point is running that body scan that it took, a picture of that person against the database of known images of what's good and if it's not good based off of the images, hey, check it out, we need you to clear this because we can't clear this because it's not matching anything that we have that's in our system. That's my thought process. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not saying that's what TSA does. I'm not sure that's the policy. That's way above my pay grade. I'm just sharing my thoughts. With that being said, why not have that? That's another stereotypic thing, because if a boy, like I said, the guy came through, he said, hey, this happens all the time. I'm just welding down below the belt, which means I have a big dick. So the machine is not going to detect a big mandingo. It's only going to know an average sized penis and what a soft or maybe a semi, maybe hard, I don't know. Some guys come through kind of happy. So when I do a grown arm pat down, some of them look a little happy, and sometimes even when they don't alarm in the growing area, I can kind of tell, like, oh, you look a little happy, So sometimes, like, for example, if somebody came through that was not African American or was African American and they don't have a mandingo, and either they have a little hard on or they don't have a hard on, their penis is soft, and they don't alarm in the growing area, That's because the machine was probably able to match it against his known things of what the grown area should be like. Now, if Mandingo come through and his penis is soft, but he hanging and swinging, he's hung. The machine don't know what a hung penis look like because they didn't get no guys that were hung. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying the government should go out and be like, hey, are you hung? Can I get Mandingo, African American Mandingos up here so we get some scans so we can have that? I'm not saying that this was that's against privacy at that point, because like the abortion episode, that's against privacy. We should be doing that. But I'm just saying that it's all ties into the racial thing, because like I said, with the woman, a big woman, we have them spread their legs a little further apart so that the machine can scan between their legs. And if they're at that point, even if they still are going there, now it's okay. Maybe there is something that we need to check out. And we still do the groin line pat down, whether or not we think there's something there or not. We still have to do it because the machine is telling us that we have to. We trust in our machines. So us spreading the legs wider apart for big people is not because we don't believe in our machine. It's because, like I said, I think in my mind process that this machine has to know what's good and what's not. How does it? Just like with anything else. A TV knows what's good and what's not, like if it has internet connection or not. So the same thing goes with this body scanner. It has to know what a good image is and what a bad image is. And it's going to put a general box around the general body or the avatar image and say, hey sir, we have to patch you down here. You know, you good, sensitive, painful to touch, you know what I'm saying? So with the same thing as with the big people. And so I would just say this falls right in line with it not being tailored to African Americans. There's a stigma around obesity and it's not taken seriously. Or a bigger person, that it's not okay to be big. Because if it did, TSA would have gotten big people that are body types like this too, and 16 and above for men and women. I don't know the size for men, but 16 and above for at least women, and got some scans in there. Put it in their computer, so when a big girl like that come through, she ain't gotta stand in here and spread her legs further wider apart, or whatever may have you. You know what I'm saying? And go through additional screening because she's bigger. And then some women, they come through and they realize they always get a groin line pat down. They're like, yeah, this always happens to me. It's okay, I know what it is. But we still have to give them the advisements because we don't want them to be shocked like what we're doing to them, like where we're gonna be patting them down, or a woman patting them down, and it's vice versa with a man. But a lot of passengers start to learn how their process through security is going to go, especially if they're bigger, because like this one guy, for example, one guy came through. He said, y'all do, every time I come through, I get a groin line. It's fine. It's just because I'm a big dude. I have a bigger belt, obviously. So I do what you got to do. But I give him my advisements. Let him know I'm going to put my hand in between your thigh, one on your hip, up to resistance, to your torso, down to, all that. I gave him all that so he knows. But he's like, yo, I'm a big cat. I come through. It is what it is. So that's why I started thinking, well, this machine has to know what's good and what's not good. So there has to be something maybe in the system or the software that says, hey, these are good images of people not concealing anything in their pockets or in their person. This person, we don't know. So you got to clear this groin area or whatever area on the side or on the hip or on the chest or the head, whatever it is, of this big person, because we don't know what it is. We see that it may be a big person, but we can't tell what's between their legs, or like that it's okay that there's nothing concealed between their legs or in their pockets or in their buttocks or whatever, because they're a big person. So you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of things in society that make it okay not to be big, and where the stigma lies. And this is one of those things. So I hope you guys understood what I was saying there, is that they should either create wider footprints. Excuse me, sorry, I hate that. Dry chapstick. They should create footprints for bigger people to be like, hey, put your feet on these ones. And also get images that fit bigger people, so that way the system can match it against their known database if this is what the body scanner does, so that way we don't have to always do groin line pat downs on bigger people, because I do feel bad for them, because a lot of times I feel like some are just naturally okay with it and just brush it off, and others I do feel like they are being targeted, but that's not the case. But I'm just thinking that maybe this is because the machine doesn't know, hey, it's like we can't clear this area. But once we have you, like, hey, we'll just widen your stance a little more, then the machine is able to clear the area, because now it's not your stomach is not in the way, or your big voluptuous butt is not in the way, your bigger thighs are not in the way of clearing your inner thighs or your inner, like, you know what I'm saying? So that's, that's all I'm saying, y'all. And like I said, I'm not calling out TSA or the government or DHS saying that they're racist or they're discriminating against bigger people. I'm just stating that this is my thought process, and maybe the reason why black people, they come through and they're always getting more pat downs, and they're always coming constantly through and getting the same type of pat down. But then also because you decided to sag your pants or wear 3 or 4 pairs of clothing, dog, when you come through with boxers on, shorts on, and a hefty set of pants, come on now. Why you need all that? Bring your blanket, put it through the X-ray. You know what I'm saying? But that's all. But I hope you guys understood where I was coming from with this episode. Like I said, I'm rooting for my big girls, my thick madams, my fat girls, PHAT, pretty hot and thick. Let's normalize this conversation. Because like I said, I get one side of why they created, but you gotta look at the other side of it being stereotypical, prejudice, and just a little bit on the racial side, and if not totally racist, because a lot of it tailors to a lot of African American people and a lot of African American women. And to my African American women, my mom's a big girl. A lot of big girls in my family, they're beautiful, they're voluptuous. Ain't nothing wrong with your love handles. And like Monique said, in fat girls, no, baby, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem. I don't have a weight problem. You just got a problem with my weight. That's what it is. And I think that's one of the reasons why BMI was created, and the obesity, and why it's still okay to fire and hire and pay less on because of their body size, because you have a problem with my weight. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a weight problem. And like I said, there's big girls, big people out there that could be more healthier. I know for a fact at least one, if not 2,000, but at least one person is more healthier than me being as scrawny as I am, as skinny and toned as I am, So let's try to normalize this conversation, y'all. I love y'all so much. I thank y'all for watching this episode. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Javier Vassal. You can follow the show on Facebook, Instagram at the Analytical I Show, and on Twitter, I Analytical. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, guys. And before I go, let's be kind to one another. Big people, especially darker big people, get it way worse. Way worse. And ain't nothing wrong with being big. It's just a body type. That's all it is. It ain't harming you. It ain't exploding the world. And like I said, doesn't mean that they're always eating. And being big is a good thing. Ain't nothing wrong with being not big. Or ain't nothing wrong with being big. And quite frankly, to me, there are people out there that I think that look better being big, and they lost weight, and they still look great, but I kind of like them being bigger, Make sure you love on each other, y'all. Make sure you love on the black women, especially the big girls, the thick madams, the fat girls, pretty hot and thick. I thank y'all so much for watching this episode. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about colorism within the African American community. I hope you guys got a lot from this episode. And like I said, let's continue to normalize this. I will continue to talk about this throughout the season and the future seasons of this show. But I wanted to specifically talk about this within the African American community and normalize it and radicalize the stigma around it and make it okay. And that to my black men, support your black women that are bigger and curvier and more heavy set. Not that some of them may need it, but not that some of them don't need it. Some of them do, but then others, they just, you should do it because we're black. We have to support each other, support our African American community. You know what I'm saying? So I thank y'all so much for watching this episode. I will see you guys tomorrow, and then like I said, I'll see you guys on Monday. Thank you so much. Cheers. Have a happy Saturday. I will see you tomorrow for Sunday, and don't forget to watch Light of the Sundays, because I think there's a song on there that you guys will enjoy. Cheers. Have a good day.